All right. Can I videotape you for my Facebook?
Oh, sure.
All right. You got to tell me about the balloons. What's going on tomorrow at 3 o'clock?
Okay, tomorrow at 3 o'clock, just be in front of your home, buy some balloons and white balloons
Helium
helium balloons. How about you videotape him?
They're going to release white helium balloons at 3 o'clock Saturday, tomorrow.
Yes.
So wherever you're at,
Wherever you're at.
and remember Cassie in this senseless act.
Excellent. White balloons tomorrow 3 o'clock. If you're in the area, look up. The balloons will be there. Hi, I'm here with another one of our good friends, Carrie. Do you have a couple words you want to say about who Cassie was, or what do you remember about her?
What I remember about Cassie is whenever we would run into her, which was sometimes few and far between, she was always the person that would basically give her shirt off her back. I mean, do you need something to eat? Do you need something to drink? Here, supplies. And always when we ran into her at Benedictine, she was always trying to help, even if it wasn't her patient to take care of. So her heart was bigger than her body, and so was her spirit. So at least now it'll be free.
One of the things God asks when you get to heaven is, did you love enough? And Cassie nailed it. Cassie nailed it.
You're not ducked in, right?
No, it's okay. Hi.
No, wait a second.
No.
Oh, I got my logging hat on.
Your login hat's great. This is life. Okay, here I can do it this way. You can look at. Come over here.
No.
You got better light there. Hi, I'm here with one of Cassie's neighbors that has a little bit of news about what she was like the last few weeks, last month. What was your name again?
It's Peter.
Peter.
And yeah, Cassie really changed the last couple of weeks, and actually last month or so. She was waving as we drove by, going up to our house, saw her out in the yard, running with the dog, just had it's a new attitude for life, and really sad to see that she had to go so quick after finding that new life. That new life is what was really needed on this road, and it's going to be missed. Thanks.
I don't know. I actually put on the crazy fish and like 5 things.
He did. Crazy fish.
All right. Here we are. We're here. We've got a wonderful idea, and we're trying to get some comments about Cassie and what people remember about her. So can you just tell us who you are and how you know Cassie?
Yeah, she's my neighbor, and she was a friend of mine. She, lovely lady, a mother to many, and just a friend. And she loved the Lord, which was very important to me. And today we're going to remember her by just sending up some balloons up to the skies, up to the heavens, to where she's at. Just a remembrance of her, so that we don't forget. And I'm hoping that we could do this at least once a week for a while, so that we can just remember who she is.
Gordon Mossman. And about Cassie, Cassie had an ability to help others and be compassionate just as a natural thing that came to her. She was a great person.
Thanks.
My name is Shelley Mossman. Cassie meant a lot. Every time she would come into the store, her smile was just infectious. I miss her spirit a lot. I miss her joy, and I don't know, taken too soon. Taken too soon.
Hi, I'm here with Herb. Herb is one of the greeters at Cassie's church. Herb, can you tell me about Cassie?
Well, I would watch for people coming in, and Cassie I always noticed because she had the sweetest smile. I didn't know her very well, and she wasn't here every Sunday, but she'd come in, and my wife and I would both greet her, and she'd have a big smile for us, and that was really neat. We're going to miss her. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Suzette Leparc, and I met Cassie at church, and I kind of have a heart for people who sometimes can be invisible, and I think she might have been a little shy, so I did approach her and invite her to a Bible study at my house, which she did attend fairly regularly, and I just came to know her as a really gentle soul with a kind, soft heart for others, and I watched her reach, even though I knew that was hard for her. reach out to other people, and it was really quite impressive for me because I'm very gregarious and outgoing, and so it's easy for me, but to see someone who knew the love of God and wanted to show it to others enough to push past their own uncomfortability was a treasure for me, and I'm really going to miss her terribly, and I love her. And yeah, I was grateful to be your friend.
Hi, Laurel.
Hi there.
Can you tell me what you told me about Cassie?
Yes, I was in a Bible study for a period of time with her, and one of our sessions we talked about God the Father, and how sometimes it's difficult for people to accept God as the Father because their own biological father was not that good a father, or they had struggles with him. And as different ones of us shared about our relationships with our own fathers, when we got to Cassie, she had nothing but wonderful things to say about her father and what she had done as a child growing up, what her father had done for her, and how the wonderful relationship they had. So I was blessed to hear that, because quite a few of the women had quite a few struggles with their dads. But she said no, she had a wonderful father. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm Kirsten Barnes, and I met Cassie through the church here and was involved with her doing something called Dave Ramsey Financial Peace. Cassie came to class really to help get her budget under control and really own her money. She wanted to know where her money was going and not have someone else decide where it went. And so Cassie came to class every day. She'd come on Wednesday nights from about January through about mid-April, and her goal was to come and get her financial well-being set up so that she could retire and just really have control of her life. And so she came straight from work every single time, would get there, bring in a little snack ready to go, and start putting her work together. And I just really appreciated how faithful she was to really try to improve what she had done for a long time and be able to move forward in the new chapter of her life.
And how often did she come to these classes?
So she came once a week for about 15, 16 weeks that she was involved with those, and then she was taking other classes on Wednesday nights at the church before that and after that. But during that time period, she was really focusing in on getting her finances and keeping control of who she was.
Wonderful. Thank you. How would you describe Cassie as a person?
As a person, well, she was very happy in our group. She came with a smile. You knew that she'd worked a full shift, was pretty excited about having come from work, but when she got here, she was ready to learn more, ready to jump in, and was really searching for what she could do and how she could serve in life.
You can move. It's cool. Hey, tell me about this kitty cat. You got a new kitty cat.
Yeah, I got Cassie's kitty, and I named it Sandy because of Cassandra, and it's pretty. It's calico, but mostly black, and right now it only likes my mom. And yeah, it has a mustache like around its nose, and so I call it Stash once in a while. But I got permission from Bryce to name it Sandy because, like in the Bible, it's a new stage of life with a new family. And the kitty's very happy, and it has food and everything.
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for taking care of
My
Sandy.
pleasure.
Michelle, and I met Cassie through a friend who was at the Sisters Benedictine, and then through church. And Cassie to me was such a beautiful person. She always was happy and wanted you to pray for her, but she always cared about your feelings more than her, and she was just an awesome person.
Tell me what you said. You'd mentioned that something about you could tell that she was someone that was suffering, but then she still would. How did you say that?
Yeah. When I first heard that she had died, I thought that she kind of had a tortured soul, but she always presented herself so caring and nurturing that she just loved people so much.
So this is the garden before.
Yes.
So we'll have to come back and do the after.
Yes, and see what Cassie's garden looks like.
Wonderful.
Yes.
We're just hearing about the beanbag frog. We've got to get this story. So tell me about the beanbag frog.
Another staff brought it in. Cassie never liked to throw anything away, and she was getting better about that as we did a lean project together. But one day I noticed this beanbag frog had been sitting here forever, and it had a metallic back. And Cassie was keeping it because she thought we could heat it up and then use it for a resident if they were having pain. But you couldn't put it in the microwave because of the metal on it. But it never, we just kept it. And one day I finally nobody was around, and I tossed it in the garbage. And then I walked off into another unit, and I came back, and it was out of the garbage. And I know she took it, but we never actually talked about it. I know she took it out. And so I came back and threw it in the garbage again, and it was out again. So the third time I finally pulled up a bunch of paper towels and shoved it in the bottom of the garbage and covered it up. And we laughed about it later, but so it was just her way of always thinking about the residents that she took care of.
Did you find a beanbag frog at her house?
No. That's true. No. It may not really be gone.
So, just describe Cassie for me. What was she like?
Cassie was a great friend. She really cared. This was her home, and we always felt like we're all a family here, and she was a really big part of that, and just very caring to the residents and to each other, to us here. So just a wonderful person. Hey. Oh,
thank you.
So anyway.
So tell me, the last Friday she was here, what happened?
Last Friday Cassie was here. She put in for her vacation time to Switzerland. I found it, so that was on a Friday. I found it on a Monday or a Tuesday of last week. And initially I said, I don't want this one to my staffing coordinator, and I gave it to her. And then I thought, no, we're not going to let anybody take that from her. So I proved it.
This is another good friend.
And we kept it. And we decided, instead of anyone taking that trip from her, that on those days we're going to celebrate her. Each and every one of those days that she would have been on her trip. So it's hanging in my office.
Okay. You'll have to
and we all have her voice in different ways. I have yeah, she forwarded it to me. Anyway, it was funny too, because I would come in Monday after the weekends, and if Cassie worked, I would at least have one message from her, just a reminder about something, or there was always a message. And I came in Tuesday after it happened, and I did it, and I was very sad, because that's the first thing I did, was walk him out, see if I had a message from her. But our staffing coordinator has one, and she forwarded it to me. So, and then we take turns listening to her voice on report, just because although I can still hear her. I mean, I just hear her voice, and I expect her just to come bebopping into my office to fax and tell me a joke. She loved jokes. She loved silly little jokes. So.
But were they actually funny?
Well, of course they were hilarious when she told them, because she got so much delight in them. So you couldn't not get delight in her jokes.
That's a Wagner sickness, to tell jokes that we laugh at ourselves.
Yes. The Tuesday after, somebody brought in some candy, and one of the little pieces had a joke on it, and I could never remember jokes. She could remember them, and I can never remember them, but the little joke on it was, how do you make your orange giggle? You tickle its navel. And so I told that joke probably 10 times, and that was a Cassie joke. Cassie would have loved that joke.
You know the toonie fish joke? Sabrina's trying to remember. I'm trying to remember the toonie fish. Something about a tuna with two knees.
Two-kneed fish?
I don't remember what it was, but that was the joke that I remembered. Her and another resident, he told her, and it was always toonie.
Yeah.
I don't know. We were when she finally got a phone and started texting.
Oh boy.
We were texting jokes back and forth, and it was the coolest thing, because she actually texted, and I told her that I'd work on that with her, because she needed a little bit of guidance with the whole texting thing, but we were working on it. We were getting there. So.
How long did you know her?
Well, I've worked here for 13 years, and she's worked here recent. And when I came into the unit maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I worked opposite her, and I had some big shoes to fill, I think, and she was one of the people that made me definitely feel very comfortable and like
I was a part of this family. And I live right down the road from her, and we became much better friends in the last, well, since I've worked down here, but even since she moved back to her home on Olson Street. And yeah, she was always super excited about my kids and about what they were doing and what our families were doing. And if you told her a story, she wanted to tell you, and she wanted to make sure you knew it, because if it was exciting to somebody else, it was exciting to her. And she wanted to make sure that everybody was excited about it.
How would you describe Cassie?
Kind, a little scattered, but in a fun, caring way. And just, you know, concerned about everybody but herself. And then she started becoming concerned about herself, and it was awesome to see.
Cool.
Yeah.
Had she changed much in the last couple weeks?
Absolutely. I mean, she just, she smiled more. She always smiled. I mean, don't get us wrong. I think she always smiled, especially here. She really was always a smiley girl. And, but she just became more lively, more vibrant. That's the word I like to use, is she just was like she was always kind of you know, colorful, but she became much more vibrant in her world, and really, you know, happy for everything, about everything.
Why do you think she became more vibrant?
Well, I think she definitely was in a better place in her life. I think she was starting to care more about herself and taking time for herself. And, you know, I think that was the biggest thing. She was just happy to be able to take that time for herself.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say to her family?
To her, you know, she was a blessing, and I know you guys knew that. I wish that you guys knew her as well as we all did, and just know that she loved you guys, and she talked about you like you were the world, and she wished so much more she could be in that world with you guys, and just her looking forward to December was going to be an awesome time. And she always, you know, she loved Marvel. She loves her dad, and just her whole family was super important to her.
Tell me again your name?
Paula.
Paula. And how did you meet Cassie?
I met her when I first started working here 13 years ago, and I was ready to leave after the first few days, and with her help and guidance and, you know, always just being there to help me, I stuck it out. She was wonderful, and without a doubt, one of the best nurses I've ever worked with.
What made her one of the best nurses?
Well, I think it was her caring. She cared just deeply for everybody. And it was obvious.
Yeah. How would you describe her? Maybe for someone who didn't know her, what would you say Cassie was?
She was bright. She was always cheerful around everybody, and I know now that it wasn't always good for her, but you didn't see that. These last few weeks, we have enjoyed watching her blossom. She was, she had dreams and plans, and it was just out there, ready to go.
Yeah.
And going to Switzerland for Christmas was awesome for her. Something to really look forward to.
Yeah. We'll have to take a rain check on that one.
Yeah. In her heart, she was going. So, you know, we talked about. She was out to my place for dinner Thursday before she passed, and this summer my sister and I had redone my library, and she wanted to see it, and paint colors and decorating, and so she was so anxious to paint her bedroom and get a new mattress, and it was just going to go from, you know, the bottom of that house and do the whole thing and be comfortable, and she, you know, had a lot to look forward to. the first time, I mean, before, and we'd seen that there were problems and would say, you know, end it, and I think she knew that she was safer in the situation than trying to end it. So she said one time that she felt like she was always walking on eggshells because it didn't seem to matter what she did, it would make him angry. And if she stayed there and did what he wanted, then everything went okay, at least for a while.
So she was trapped,
She was
almost
trapped,
enslaved.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't know how to get out, and knew if she tried that she would be in danger. So, I mean, she was right. She was so right.
Yeah.
But she was doing everything
Yes.
right this time. I mean, so we need to do something to change the laws and the system
Absolutely.
to protect others in her name.
Absolutely. What can we do? What do you think we can do to help her legacy live on? What can we do to?
Well, I know I get phone calls all the time from these very worthy organizations that you know are requesting money, and I dole out $5 here and there, and all my money is going to go to domestic violence. Maybe when I retire from here, I'll be able to do something on a volunteer thing. But
You can come work on the hospital ship where she was wanting to come. We'll take you.
you got room for my horses.
We do. We'll find a way.
Okay.
You have horses.
I have horses and cows and chickens and one duck and
wonderful.
dogs and cats.
Yeah. So you have a farm? Is it here in Mount Angel?
It's up in the Silverton Hills.
Okay.
And
Great.
when she was out for dinner Thursday, we were talking about both taking a vacation in February, and she was going to vacation on my farm and take care of the animals and my aunt while I went to South Carolina to see my sister. So, you know, and we went out to put the animals up at night, and I've got, you know, one horse that is just very skittish. And usually you put your hand out to him and he backs up, and he just stood there, and she pet him on the nose and then pet him on the neck, and then she had her arms around his neck and her face bare.
Is that unusual?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
So she had a way with not just people.
Oh yeah, animals.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a cat that, you know, if somebody comes into the barn with me, he hides. And he just stayed there and ate his dinner. He was not the least bit intimidated by her or afraid. So.
Wonderful. Anything you want to say to her parents or her family or people who didn't get to spend as much time with her as you did?
Yeah, she was just, you know, the biggest blessing. And I know we're all going to miss her forever.
She was a person who kind of looking at her like kind of nervous and her movements, but not really. Really lovely, really patient, really friendly, and really humble. Now that she's not with us, we can see how she was really clear. That's why I say before, now that she's not with us, I learn a lot, that we need to love each other, respect everybody, and learn how they are, and love and enjoy how they are, because there is their own personality.
So how long did you work with Cassie?
Together over here in the union around 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
And what I can tell you, she was very generous for everybody. I remember the experience. Sometimes she come before and stop for in the way to the work, and she stopped at the McDonald's and bring us a yogurt with granola and everything. That was very nice from her. And I remember her favorite word, awesome. She always say, awesome. She was motivated. Yeah.
Wow.
We're missing the reports over here in the morning when she comes.
Start with just telling me what's your name.
Christine Hoagie.
Okay. Tell me, let's start with the easy part. How would you describe Cassie?
Kind.
Hmm.
Like I said earlier, there's a difference in somebody that's nice and somebody that's kind. And Cassie was kind. She was always kind to anybody.
How do you know she was kind?
She wouldn't let her dog eat my guinea pig. Because anytime she had talked about what was going on with Jason, she didn't want anybody to do anything to him. She took care of him. She took care of people for I don't even know how many years, you know? And he was her nightmare, and she took care of him. You know?
So did you know when she broke up with him?
Yeah.
Yeah. And did that change anything in her?
Oh my gosh, her whole world changed. She had an aura about her. And I don't really believe in that stuff. And she glowed, and she parked in front of my house, and she didn't care. And she had Buddy, and she was free, and she wasn't scared.
They say she parked in front of your house. Why would she not want to park in front of your house?
Because Jason would see. And he'd give her hell about being at my house. You know? She was just so nice. You might not want to put this on there, but there are girls that are just bitches and backstabbing and rude and vicious, and Cassie wasn't like that. I'm sure you know, but Cassie wasn't like that. She wasn't like all of us. She didn't deserve this.
Why do you think she stayed with him?
Because she was afraid to leave him. And you don't really know until you've been there. You know? Sometimes it wasn't worth it to leave him. And look what happened. She finally left him. And she lost her life.
What do you think gave her the courage to get out? Or to try to get out?
Her seeing him hurt somebody else. That's how kind she was. She saw him hurt somebody else and decided to get out. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Anything you want to say to her family or cousins that didn't get to know her or didn't get to see her because they were on the other side of the states or other places?
Every time you see a rainbow or you see the sun shining right on your face and it's warm, that's Cassie. Anytime you see a white balloon or something that just brings you warmth, that's Cassie.
Tell me about the glow stars in the bedroom.
So, while Dick was alive, I was taking care of him, and he made me put up these sticky glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling so he could look at the stars at night. And after he had passed, Cassie moved in, and she said she was sitting in her room in a chair, and the biggest glow-in-the-dark star fell in her lap. And she ran to my house, and she told me that star fell in my lap. It's a sign from Dick, and I'm sure he's giving Jason hell, and it was cool. She would come over every year on his anniversary and have a shot of blackberry brandy. So.
And she came over, she was here when he passed away, right?
Yeah.
And were you here too?
Yeah.
Can you tell me about that?
His family had come and gone. And I think we had his mom in the spare bedroom here, and she was sleeping, and we were just like waiting. And it took 9 hours for his heart to stop beating. And I think that's because of how strong he was.
But you knew he was going?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a whole nother story.
Did he know that Cassie was there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jason was driving up and down the road, revving his engine and screaming obscenities, is he dead yet? And she stayed in there, willing to go through anything just to be there for Vic. That's how Cassie was, you know?
Thank you. Hi guys, it's been incredible. I've been able to connect again with Irv. He was our neighbor. And it's such a pleasure to connect again, and it seems like it was just yesterday, but it was a long time ago. He looks fantastic, and he has a couple things he remembers about Cassie that we wanted to put on this DVD. So tell me a little bit about what you remember about Cassie, or most recently, any times you've seen her experiences.
Well, when I had seen Cassie in town, she always had a smile on her face. And, you know, Cassie, I think with her upbringing, she always felt like she had to mother somebody. And Cassie was always willing to take on a project, and but she was always so friendly and kind. So I really enjoyed that about Cassie.
Yeah, excellent. And so you went to school with her, is that correct?
Yeah, went to grade school and high school with Cassie, and would see her frequently in town and talk to her. And so.
Excellent. Went to Evergreen?
Evergreen and Silverton High School, yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah, they grew right up across Cascade Highway from us in the old greenhouse. And Cassie and Bryce's mother had passed away when they were young, and I just think that Cassie thought she had to take over her mother's role as a mother and help other people in the world.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tell me about, what was Cassie like?
Well, she was just a sweet, precious girl. Woman. I say girl a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, she was.
Why was she precious?
She was just loving and caring and always seemed happy. I don't know.
Yeah. What are you going to miss most?
All of her. Just everything about, I'm going to miss her.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, she loved you. She did.
I hope she did.
Well, you know she did.
She was always nice to me. Jason called one night and we talked for a while, quite a while, half an hour maybe, and I said, well, did Cassie like me? And I think you're not recording this, are you?
Oh, no, of course not.
Well, yeah, he says, she just thought you talked on the phone too much. Well, see, I have this sister. She's been a widow now for like 7 years, and I started right after the death of her husband, calling her every night to tuck her in, so to speak. And we talk an hour. I mean, I bet I haven't missed in all these years maybe a dozen times. I just call her and we talk and talk and talk. Well, Cassie would call, and my sister's older, so I respect her, and I say, Cassie, I'm with my sister. Can you call back a little bit? Because she's younger. Well, then I finally, it depends on the situation. But anyway, I just can't go like this. My mind's fried. Anyway, we finally decided, it was probably Cassie's idea, that she wouldn't call around 7 o'clock because she knew. And for the most part she didn't. But even after that, a couple times she forgot and called me, which was okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes I would just say, hey, to my sister, hey, I'm going to hang up. I'm getting in. Well, I'd answer it. Here'd be Cassie, and I'd go back and say, Shirley, it's Cassie. We're talked out for tonight. You know, maybe we talked half an hour. So I'm just going to take Cassie's call. I don't like that. I don't.
I just took it.
What?
Your picture.
Oh.
Is that you and your sisters?
Yeah. This is what I'm talking about. This is my little sister. And I look like I'm asleep.
Wow.
Papa, hang on to that. Where'd you get that? Don't lose it.
I don't know.
Wait, they're almost as beautiful as you.
Well, she's probably the best looking. I don't know. but we look a lot. I remember when I worked at my own company, she worked at Myron Frank's for a while, and girls at the company go down there and see her. Do you have a sister that lives... You're not recording this, are you?
No.
Is he lying to me?
Yes.
Bryce, that's not nice.
Yes, but it's good because it's spontaneous and it's life and it's you. It's Marvel.
Well, I'm talking so fast. Let me slow down.
Okay. So,
Anyway, yeah, do you have a sister that lives at Myron Frank, works at Myron Frank's? Yeah, yeah. And lots of times I see myself in the mirror and, yeah, I look like her.
you do.
I look kind of like my oldest little... I look a lot like my mother.
All right. One last question for you. One last question, and then I'll go to Zoe. One last question. Let's say somebody had never met Cassie in their life. How would you describe her? If, let's say, they didn't know her, what would you say? Let me tell you about Cassie and what she was like. How would you explain her?
She's just sweet and precious. And she cares about people. She loves people. She's helpful. She's wonderful.
Good. Thank you.
And, yeah.
Good. Bye, Cassie.
Sweet. And no bad things at all I can think of. She's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, thanks. So
And that's the kind of people that get hurt, I guess.
Yeah. Because they're sweet.
Yeah, and they're probably too much caring for other people and don't watch out.
Yeah, or care enough for themselves. You have to.
Yeah.
You can care for others, but you need to care for yourself as
Right,
well.
you got to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Dad. Okay, you can think first. Tell me about your Aunt Cass. What was she like?
Well, she was probably like the sweetest thing ever and really kind, even though we never saw her.
Do you miss not being able to see her so much?
I mean, like, it's hard to know someone, you know, when you don't see them often, but she was so full of joy, and even though she was like this. She was like this, like, rose without thorns, in which she was not taking good care of herself sometimes, you know, or she would only think of others, you know.
That's cool. A rose without thorns. Yeah. What would you, if you could say something to Cassie now, what would you say to her?
Well, that I love her, you know, in which yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Never mind, yes.
Hey, just tell me something. I know you didn't get to spend much time with Cassie.
Yes.
Only a couple times at Christmas and things like that.
Yes.
But do this. If she was here now, is there anything you would want to tell her? Any advice you'd want to give her? What would you tell her?
I don't know.
Get your nose cut. Try that.
Okay. What do you think she's like?
What do I think she's like? All I remember is that every time I would see her, she would always have a smile. She'd always smile. That's about all I remember.
Tell me about Cassie.
Okay, I remember the very first time I met Cassie. It was in '94, and it was my very first time in America. And when I saw her, I knew that she was someone that was really, really, really sweet inside. That that was a girl I could be real, and I would not be judged. She was a type of person I think that would accept anybody the way you are. There was no judgment in her. And after that, every time we came in America to visit, she was so excited to come and take us places and share Christmas together or share a meal together. And I know she was working hard, but she would always take the time to make sure she could spend as much time as possible to be with us. And when the kids were small, I remember her playing in the backyard with Zoe or with Shad, and just playing tea party with Zoe, and she loved kids. And I remember one time she took me to the Woodburn Mall, and we were talking in the car, and I asked her, I said, what do you really want, you know? And she said, I would love to have kids, and I think this is something she really wanted. And she didn't get a chance to have kids, her own children, physical children, but I know she's had a huge impact on many children because she loved kids. And I'm really going to miss her. And we were so excited to actually show her Switzerland and our part of the world. And she was always so welcoming and wanted to share something with us every time we came, and we wanted to do the same thing and have her in Switzerland and show her all the beautiful parts of Switzerland, the mountains and the lake. And I know she would have loved it. And so I'm really going to miss her, but I'm happy I got to know her, and that she's part of my life.
First of all, tell me, what was your name again?
Steve Fosholm.
And tell me, did you know Cassie?
I knew Cassie, yes. I went to school with her.
Tell me what you remember about Cassie.
Well, I was telling you earlier this evening that I remember walking in the lower hall in Silverton High School and passing her several times. And she was kind of shy and quiet. And of course, I was a senior and she was, what did we decide, a sophomore? And I just remember her cute smile, and I'll never forget it.
Yeah. If you met somebody who had never met her and didn't know her, how would you describe her? Who
Sweet
was Cassie?
angel.
Yeah. Say that again. How would you describe her?
Sweet angel.
Perfect. We're with Marvel and the dog. Come here, doggy. Say something. Say hello. Tell me what was Cassie like? Talk to me. She's not talking. She's not talking. You're not talking. No. All right. You're up. You're up.
Oh, I read that. That's really nice.
When Aunt Cassie called, she called you guys like, tell me what happened that week before.
Well, I was in my room I was doing like my normal stuff, like drawing in my room, and I get up to go get water, and then mom's like on the phone, like said, oh, who is this, and stuff, and she's like, oh, it's Cassie, it's Cassie, and I like rush to her, and she puts the speaker on, and we listen, and she says like, oh, I'm free, and we're like, oh, that's so cool, and then she said that she wanted to come, in December, and we were like, oh, this is so cool, and we were like jumping, and like we were so happy. It was.
Was she different than she normally is when you talk with her?
Yeah, she's like, you just can hear it in her voice, that something changed, and that all the weight that she was carrying was like, you know, off of her, and it was nice to hear her that way, you know. Yeah.
So Cassie called me about 3 days before this tragic Saturday, and when she called, she said, "Sam," and immediately I knew that something was different in her voice. And the first thing she told me was, "I'm free. I broke up." No, I don't want to say his name. It's fine. She called me about 3 days before this tragic Saturday, and she said, "Sam," on the phone, and I knew immediately that something was different in her voice. And the first thing she told me was, "I'm free, and I want to come and visit you." And we were so excited, and I put the speaker on, and I called Zoe, and I told her, "Come, this is Auntie Cassie, and she's coming." And so Zoe came running, and we were just laughing and screaming and dancing, and we were rejoicing because we knew that she was embracing a new life. She was turning the page of a chapter, and she was ready to write a new chapter of freedom and joy and peace. And that was an amazing gift for me to be able to speak to her and at least share this little moment on the telephone with her. We've been trying for years to have her come and visit us in Switzerland, and we wanted to show her where we live and our life there. And my husband has been trying for years as well to have her come and work as a nurse on the hospital ship in Africa. And we knew that she was ready for that, to embrace this new life, and we were excited with her.
Chickens here.
Sorry.
The chickens want to be in.
Come on, guys.
Look at chickens. I like the chickens. Come on. Techno chicken. Okay.
Take a chicken. All right.
Come on, the chickens.
All right. It's actually video time. Do you guys want to say something?
Yeah.
I love you, Cassie.
Yeah.
I love you, Cassie.
Okay. How about a message to Cassie?
Ooh.
We love you, Cassie. We're looking forward to seeing you.
Yes.
And
Hopefully not
together?
soon.
Yeah.
We love you, Cassie, and then I want
See you. ... Exactly.
You ready?
Yes.
What do you want to say?
Well, I love you. We do. Cassie. How can
Okay,
we do
let's
that
go.
all together?
1, 2, 3 at the same time. Everybody, give your message. Okay.
What?
At
Okay.
the same time. 1,
No, but I don't know what to say.
2, 3, go.
We'll Love miss you. you. We love you, Cassie. We love you, Cassie. Okay.
One of my memories of Cassie is it was before school, so I was going to Evergreen, so I was probably in the 4th grade. She would have been in high school, and she was getting ready for school. And as you can tell, I still don't wear makeup. She had on makeup, and she was putting on with one of those eyelash brushes, and it was a brown thing, and it had the brush on one side and the comb on the other. And I remember just standing there watching her do this, and I was like, "What are you doing? Why are you combing your eyelashes?" It's like, "Oh, so it doesn't clump. This is what you do." I was like, "Oh." And I just sat there, and she not once said, "Get out of here." She just sat there and let me, watch her do her makeup, and that was it. And then it was time for me to go catch the school bus. And for the 3 times probably in my life that I've worn makeup, I did have one. And every time, the 3 times, but every time I see it, it reminded me of Cassie. And that was the memory that I have of her this week, for some odd reason, is the makeup brush.
Excellent. If there was somebody who didn't know her at all, that had never had a chance to meet her, and you had to explain or just to say who she was, what would you say? Cassie was what?
Well, to say the nicest person is so generic and so cliche. I would almost want to say flawless.
Excellent. Yeah.
So it's one of those, and she laughed and she smiled. I remember last year at the family reunion, she got there late. And our family reunion this year was canceled, but she was there late, and she just pulled up, and she was so happy to be there, but so frustrated that she was running late and people had already left, and she even brought food. I think she made a lasagna or enchiladas or something she had in her car, and she was like, I'm here and I've got food. And it was almost a combination between crying and laughter. And that, to me, that's kind of how I think with Cassie, I don't know if I'd be able to tell if she was crying tears of joy or crying tears of pain, because she was just such a pure soul.
Anything else you want to say?
That I can think of.
I am Colita Quigley. I'm Cassie's aunt. Twyla was my sister. Cassie was very special. I remember when she was born, and just about 2 months old, 3 months old, she had to have casts on her legs for a while to straighten them out. And she was such a trooper. Never why cried about it, just handled it fine, and then just grew up to be the most beautiful, beautiful girl. She was a real giver. Even at a young age, she was a mother-type image. She liked to take care of other little ones, be it a cousin, be it brother, whatever. She loved to take care of them. And she was so nice with my younger kids when we would come to visit. She would just entertain them and play with them, and they loved it. That's the kind of person Cassie was, a giving, loving person. She grew up way too fast, and we lost her way too early. She reminds me so much of her mother. After Twyla died, a couple of years later, we happened to, I feel bad we didn't get together more often, but it seemed like a year or two later when we did happen to see her at a reunion or something, I just broke into tears when I saw her because it was so much like Twyla. She was just that kind of a person, and Twyla was a loving person, and that's where Cassie got it. Just a very loving, loving person. I think the career she went into with nursing is very explainable with the way Cassie was. A beautiful, beautiful young lady.
And if you had somebody who had never met Cassie, and you had to have just 1 or 2 or 3 words to kind of explain who she was, what words would you use?
I would think I would use beautiful in spirit. People can have a great outward of beauty, but when you have inward beauty, it's different. And Cassie had inward beauty. And she also was so caring, so caring. And those are words I would describe for Cassie.
Anything else?
Just a special person. Just hard for us to lose her, but so happy to know that she's with her mom in heaven.
Okay, well, I would say the biggest thing that I remember about Cassie is this megawatt smile. You don't have to think about stories or where you were or what you did, because every memory of Cassie, she is smiling. And I remember looking at all the pictures, while I was going through the last couple of weeks and trying to think of what I remember about Cassie, and it's all overshadowed by this wonderful smile. And everybody who knows her knows exactly what I'm saying when I talk about her smile.
Cool. Excellent.
Yeah.
So, I guess that's probably the answer to the next question, but as well, let's say if you had to explain to somebody who had never met Cassie. Now, the people who met her know what you're talking about. What about people who had never met her? How would you explain in a few words who she was?
Well, I would say the profession she chose as a nurse explains it all. Cassie lived her life to help others. If you needed something, wanted something, anything, Cassie, till the very end, her goal in life was to make other people's lives better.
That's cool. That's cool. What about a childhood memory? Is there any childhood memory you remember?
Yes, I do. I do remember a childhood memory, and I was telling my kids about this. Probably, it's been within the last couple months. It was an early summer memory, and it's funny that I saw Heidi's picture recently, because I remember Heidi was visiting from California, and Cassie was inside the house, and Heidi said to Vanessa and I want to do something nice for Cassie. Cassie always does nice things for everybody else. I want to do something nice for Cassie. And we got cattails from the side of the pond, and we brushed them all up and made them nice and smooth and silky, and we made like this bed out of cattails. And then Heidi went in, and she told Cassie she had a surprise for her, and Heidi blindfolded her and we walked Cassie out and laid her down on this bed of cattails. And you would have thought that we had just taken her to the Crown Plaza in New York City. Cassie was so excited that we had taken time out for her to show her how much we loved her with just this pile of brushed up cattails.
That's cool.
So, yeah.
That's cool. Excellent. Anything else you want to share or say?
I just want to say, I think that of all the cousins, if we had to have someone to go first for us and look for real estate, we couldn't pick a better person because she's up there now ensuring that we all have some really good land.
Wonderful. She's setting up the party?
She's setting up the party with that smile. No one can tell her no.
Cool. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
My name's Piper. I'm Cassie's cousin. Cassie's mother and my mother were sisters. And my favorite memory of Cassie was actually with Cassie, Bryce, and John playing hide and go seek in the house, where we would go hide in the dryers and the closets, and we would just make a fantastic game. We would be at it for hours. And it was just an amazing time, and it's something that I always look back on. And hearing Cassie's laugh, because she could never hide really well. So you could always hear her giggle, and you always knew exactly where she was going to be.
And how would you describe her?
Just beautiful inside and out. I mean, Cassie had an amazing heart that touched everybody. And she always helped you no matter what. She always put others first, which is good and bad, as many people know. And, it was just a delight to have her, and she was a ray of sunshine.
Anything else you want to say about her?
That I miss her very much.
Thanks. All right, Uncle Chuck.
My name is Charles Quigley, and I'm a friend of Cassie's, uncle or whatever you want to call me. But I remember her from helping her mother when she was sick and getting ready to pass away, and how she helped her dad when he was getting ill, and then her work at the hospital. The people she has helped there is unnumbered. Thank you. That's all I have.
Yeah. If there was somebody who'd never met her ever in their life, how would you describe her to someone who didn't know her?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Why don't you ask Kalita that question?
I'll do that. Yeah.
I'm Finley Couch. I'm Cassie's uncle. Twyla her mother was my sister, and I've known Cassie since she was a little baby, but more currently, as she when we moved to Silverton, I taught in Evergreen. We were neighbors, and so for about 4 years there, I think we were very close.
Did you ever teach for her, or was she out of school already?
She was out of Evergreen when I got there and taught.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me some memories you've had of Cassie.
Well, I do remember when we lived there. Of course, spent a lot of time together. Particularly the first 3 or 4 months, I was just up there with my daughters. My wife hadn't come up yet, so we spent a lot of time over at Twyla and Wally's, and of course Cassie and Bryce were there. So we did a lot of fun things together. And the Vanette and Vanessa and Cassie and Bryce played together as much as they would with the age difference, and so I remember being around them. I do remember at least once, maybe twice, going up to Silver Falls, or the reservoir up above Silverton, and there was a kind of a dam there, and we could slide down the front of it. I don't think they wanted us to. I know they don't want you now, but we did that, and that was a lot of fun. Just had a lot of time spent together, visiting and talking and playing, and it was a good time. And went over to their house a lot and played cards with Wally and John. But anyway, then there was one special time I remember for one of Cassie's birthdays, and I don't remember Twyla and Wally going, but my wife, my daughters, I took Cassie and 3 or 4 of her girlfriends. We had this big old 1-ton van that had no seats in the back. It was just carpeted, and we took up to Portland to a pizza place. And I remember I had just got it from California, so I drove like a California, like a bat out of you know where. And I took corners too fast, and I remember when I got up there, I don't think Cassie was sick, but 1 or 2 of her friends were sick, so I felt bad about that. Recent memories are just, didn't see much of her, other than maybe once or twice a year, usually a reunion or something, and she was always so bubbly and so happy, and I always remember that she was just a happy child and a happy adult, and it was so fun to be around her. And every time we saw her in the recent years, she said, "Oh, we got to get together and spend more time," and one thing or another happened, we just never did. But that's kind of how life goes. And then when something like this happens, you look back and you say, why didn't I take advantage of those times? But it was good. And last time I saw Cassie, I think it was there at Ending Nursing Center when Wally was there, and I went to visit Wally, and I saw Cassie, and again, she was just the happiest, bubbliest person I've ever known.
So if let's say somebody had never met her, if you had to have one or two words that would adjectives or something would say who she is, who's Cassie?
Joy, helpful, loving, devoted. She was all those. Yeah. I read in the paper that they out there at the Bending Nurse Center, they called her the Angel, and I think Angel fits real well.
Cool. Anything else you want to say?
I believe I've said enough.
Thanks, Vin.
Thank you.